Welcome back to the Hard Truth Studios, as promised. Joined now by our good friend, the Todd Father from myjumpshot.com. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. Todd Leary, how are you, sir?
Well, I am not introduced that way very often, but most people would like to live without me. That's for sure.
No, that's the life that I lead. But how's everything been going? Enjoying the football season?
I do, yes. You go that whole summer long, and really the only sports after the NBA Finals is golf at that point. So it's always welcome late August, early September when football season rolls around. Because as much as I love basketball, the best spectator sport for television, in my opinion, is football.
Yeah, it's fun, and college football is fun. Looking to change. I was just talking about this. The Big Ten and the SEC in meetings in Nashville, in essence, to take over world domination and the college football. That is probably their ultimate goal. To steal a line from Wedding Crashers, and they'll take on the Klingons next. But yeah, it's going to end up being. College football will end up being something akin to the NFL, in a league that they have. I think Matt Taylor, who will be with us today, I remember he has told me each year there's 4% of the teams make the playoffs that did not make the playoffs the year before. So that gives you a kind of slow churn on different teams coming up and rising up, that so they don't always suck. I guess that's not always the case, but for the most part, who's a team that just continues to stink and never gets better? There are some, but that will eventually have to fall back on management, team ownership, and things like that. Yeah, it's no matter what, it is not going to be like it used to be. Right. Nothing is going to be like it used to be, and people might as well just get used to that, because change is never going to stop.
Yeah, well, and if you would have said, whether you're talking about it in college athletics, whether you're talking about football or basketball or whatever the sport might be, I think if you would have said 10 years ago, what it's going to be like in 2024, people would have literally thought you were nuts. And so we'd probably be crazy to not expect that same level of change in the next 10 years-ish. And I think, right now, college athletics is kind of the wild, wild west when it comes to the money and the NIL and all that stuff going on. And that, I think we saw it go from 0 to 100, just allowing pretty much everything. And I think what we'll see in the next few years, don't know that it'll stick forever, but I think we'll start to see, some limits and some reins pulled in a little bit on the way things are done right now. Because right now, I mean, you could basically give a kid whatever you want to give him to get him to come to your school. And they're making business decisions now, not just like athletic decisions. The schools are.
Yeah, there are still going to be the kids that are tweeners that have the talent, but maybe not the NIL draw, but still want to win. And that's an area where Indiana's going to have to be ahead of the game on, I think. But someone like Curt Cignetti obviously does a pretty damn good job on judging talent and taking mid-major type talent and turning them into D1 winners. He's done a pretty good job of showing how that works so far. And that's also going to help in recruiting. But Indiana's going to have to get more acclimated in on the football side of things, NIL, but that has been made easier because of the settlement that was approved by a judge this week to go forward, that House settlement where they'll be dispersing money, over $20 million a year to the athletes, and it'll be up to them to decide how that goes. But of course, if you have half a brain, you know that a chunk of that's going to go to the sports that bring in the money and bring in the eyes, and that is football, then basketball. And with where Indiana is like that is going to help them be a part of this going forward, because Indiana's football program would be one that is cast aside if had they not made this change, and if this is not sustained, because they want to. I can just kind of get a sense of the SEC, especially Sankey. I think the SEC is leading the charge. The Big Ten is probably going to go along with it because they have that same power, but it's kind of join the party or get left out, and or have another alliance like Kevin Warren wanted to have. But yeah, it's going to be weird to see how eventually they do this, how many teams that ends up being in this quote unquote super league that I think will come into be, and then how many teams from outside of these two colossal conferences are brought in. Florida State, that's one of the reasons why they went out of the ACC. Clemson, whoever else is out. Oh, those are the two schools that are suing them. I forget, but
I think so.
That,
yeah.
And then now, and you've got the best schools from the Pac-12 already. Then there's going to be some schools from the Big 12 that you'd want to get in as well. So it's going to be weird, but it will also bring better games every week. So that's going to be the upside. There's going to be a lot of people disappointed, more disappointed than happy overall, probably.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're speculating as to what's going to happen with that. I agree with you. Something's going to happen. Like there'll be some changes based on everything that's going on, like these conferences talking and all that. And I don't even hate it. I'm not the old guy sitting here saying I don't want change, but I think they didn't plan ahead well enough on how they handled, the releasing of the NIL stuff and all that originally. And, a couple years into it, now they still got court rulings, like you just said this week, on, how much money they can disperse. Then they're really putting the schools in a tough spot. And yeah, it's a lot of money, but they're putting the schools in a tough spot because, if you're giving every school the same amount of money, or relatively close to it, and you're looking at like in Ohio State versus, I'll say, Northwestern, for example, you're looking at, obviously I think Ohio State's going to give the majority, I don't know if that's the right word, there's a whole bunch of that money allotted to the football program. And I mean, I just don't see how that's going to be fair going forward, because I don't think some of these other schools are going to be able to compete in that scenario. So then in that case, there needs to be some kind of super league or something like that. I don't hate that side of it. The only part of it that I don't like, and I've said for years how much I hate the IHSAA decision to go to class basketball. And the argument always is how many more schools can get involved and all that. And so, yes, I understand that, and I hear it, and I do see that side of it. I don't agree with it, but I see that side of it. But I think college athletics is kind of getting ready to put themselves in that same scenario where the little guys, the teams that, the Milans of the world, there's not going to be that opportunity for that. Like those smaller schools, if you're not part of that super league, you're not going to have a chance to win at all. And that's, that's the kind of the beauty of sports is, how many times every couple of years do we see, some super underdog make a run and either win the championship or, get really close to winning the championship. Got teams making the Final Four that we would never guess going into a season making the Final Four. That's what makes that tournament the best tournament in the world. And I think you kind of eliminate that when you get to the Super League situation.
Well, I think this is only going to involve football. So it won't affect basketball. The NCAA, nothing to do really with running these football championships. Actually, they have nothing to do with it other than just enforcing rules. But the SEC and Big Ten alone combined have 34 teams. That's about the number of the NFL, right there alone. So there you go. But some of the lower tier programs, are they in danger? I don't know. Will the leagues fight to keep them all in?
Jim,
Probably,
look at it this way. Like I don't even know what they call it now, but like, what's your opinion on like the CFL or what's that U.S. Football League or whatever they did last year or whatever? That's what those smaller schools are going to become. And as much as I just said when we started this segment, how much I love watching football, I've never one time watched a CFL game or a USFL, whatever that's called, game. I have zero interest in that. And so I'm afraid they're going to put themselves into a situation similar to that.
Yeah, and the Big Ten SEC looking at potential scheduling arrangements. The biggest obstacle there will be getting the SEC up to 9 conference games versus the 8 they currently play. Big Ten playing 9 conference games, that makes a huge difference. But that makes it more difficult on the Big Ten, in my opinion, because if you're already playing 9 conference games, you add a 10th game against an SEC school, that leaves you with just 2 non-con games. So I could see the pushback from the SEC in that regard, but I don't see the Big Ten going backwards to 8.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of goofy stuff going on with that, you know, is above our heads and not a lot we can do about. We just kind of sit back and report about it and deal with it when it happens. But, you know, I mean, back to Coach Cignetti, I mean, what he's accomplished in putting Indiana even into this conversation where we're allowed to have fun talking about it is really, you know, that's the story. I mean, heck, you saw Troy Aikman talking about him at length all week long. I mean, I believe me, and I'm not trying to be doom and gloom here, but I'm not going to pass total judgment on everything, you know, 5 or 6 games into the season. Like we'll judge it after 1 season, we'll judge it after 2 seasons, after 3 seasons. But for everything they could have been asked to accomplish up to this point, A+. You could not possibly ask for any more.
Oh, it's incredible. And a lot of fans are concerned, and I understand that Indiana will lose Curt Cignetti because
I'm one of them.
There schools like Florida who are sucking right now had a great tradition. They're going to be coming after him. Florida State, but Florida State's got a gigantic buyout. They're kind of
buyouts don't matter anymore. Look at Texas A&M; they're paying $76 million.
I don't think everybody else wants to do that, but yeah, that's a concern. But this may help ease that to say, hey, man, that along with going to Florida, going to Auburn, or someplace like that, that's well, this is not. I don't want to say it's not a challenge to win there. It's not the challenge it is at Indiana, and where it has never been done like this in this era, in this type of what they've already accomplished. I think Curt Cignetti loves being that guy that is able to do what virtually nobody else has been able to do, and he's doing it at a place where no one said he could do it. And no one, it's nuts. So I think he loves that challenge. I think he loves that little bit of bravado. He kind of reminds me of Vince McMahon, where Vince McMahon, you know, a lot of times was showing it was a character out there. I think he enjoys getting out there and hooping up the crowd. Purdue sucks, and Michigan and Ohio State do too. He loves that stuff. And if he continues and takes Indiana to a point to where they are competitive year in, year out, then there's no reason for him to leave. He's 63 years old now. So that's just a lot of change at the end of your life. He's not been a job hopper. He wasn't looking for a job when Indiana came calling. So I think that even though his success is great, I think he's just going to enjoy the hell out of that success and continue to do it where no one else has done it, as long as he's getting the love from the fans and the administration. And the fans are definitely coming around. Nebraska is sold out now, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're writing a book and he's a character in the book and this is a big story you got going, I hope that that's the ending that it ends up having. being involved in sports and athletics and competition and all of that, I mean, you always want to get to the top. You always want to get to the point where you have the opportunity to beat the best teams in the country. And I'm not saying, going and putting himself in a position where it's going to be harder to slay the monsters of Alabama and Georgia, because obviously I don't know when they're not going to be good again. So do you really want to go put yourself in that position? Right now, he's really got Ohio State's the king of the hill. And Michigan, I guess you can kind of slip in there because they won the national championship last year. But
cheaters!
I don't think that they're proving it's hugely sustainable. And with a new coaching change and all that, I don't want to be negative Nancy here, but it's going to be very difficult to keep him. I honestly believe that. I don't. If you were him, he's not from the state of Indiana. He doesn't have a huge tie to the state of Indiana. I think we'd be a little bit nuts to think that there's not a pretty good chance he would leave.
And I don't want to be blind and dumb to it, but I also look at the standpoint. His coaching staff has been together for a while. He's got top guys that have been with him for between 6 and 10 years. They also just moved their families to Bloomington as well. And I think that Indiana sees the writing on the wall with these meetings that I just talked about. They damn well better. And we'll try to lock him down. And again, you've got no pressure in Indiana to win in football. You're setting the precedent. There is no precedent. You are making it every week right now. So and I don't know the pressure would bother him, to be honest with you, but there is none at the moment. And it's all, of course, it's all rainbows and unicorns right now.
Yeah, there is, because they're 6-0 and they've beat 4 bad teams. I mean, I'm happy about it. I'm excited. I love watching them. They're a fun team to watch. They look like they passed the eye test. They look like they're still going to be good when they play the really good teams. So that, but you just can't sit here and predict and say, they're going to beat Michigan and Ohio State and those teams. And they don't have to beat both of them this year in order to call it a successful season by any means. But I'm just telling you, in my opinion, I'm going to sit here and hold my breath at the end of the year that the scenarios don't pop up. Let's just look at it this way. I mean, you're going to say, yeah, that's a crazy scenario, but look at it this way. We just read from one of our listeners on there that he's from Pennsylvania and played at West Virginia. What if the Pittsburgh Steelers job comes open? You wouldn't leave for that?
I don't see him moving to the pro ranks.
I mean, you would only say that because he hasn't shown that he hasn't done that in the past. Otherwise, why would you say that? Why would you? What would make you think he wouldn't have any desire to go to the pros?
Age, like I said, he's 63 now. By the time he got to a pro job, he's going to be like 65. That's and to have no.
And I just threw Pittsburgh Steelers out there. They've got one of the longest tenured coaches in the league. That's most likely not the case. But Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, that dude's on the hot seat. They better start.
I think that if it was going to be someplace, I think it would be a college team, just because that's what he's used to dealing with. That's
West Virginia. So what if West Virginia comes calling?
No way. He's not leaving the Big Ten for a lesser conference. That I can guarantee you. Okay. It would not be, and so therefore it would have to be the SEC. And of course, the SEC is the football juggernaut of college football. I don't care what the AP poll says right now. I'm just
playing devil's advocate.
I get it.
You're dead on. I hope you couldn't be more spot on.
Well, and it makes sense. And especially if this were any other time, Florida, think about Florida State, the Swamp, what those games are like. Not like right now because they suck, but yeah, if you build it, they will come. Indiana's going to sell out the rest, and I alluded to this a couple of weeks ago, but I think Indiana sells out their 4 remaining home games. They're going to set an attendance record this year without question, but that comes with a caveat. Indiana's season attendance record this year will be slightly less total attendance than what Michigan gets over 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can't compare those because that's apples and oranges. Like, those stadiums are almost twice the size of Memorial Stadium.
I can also see a scenario where Curt Cignetti builds this. It gets close to retirement time for him. His guys have been with him for a long time. Somebody from that group steps up and takes over the reins, specifically probably Mark Shanahan, who has been with him as the OC, and I could just see that scenario playing out.
Well, I think it'll be a bigger difficulty for him to hang on to his staff moving forward from now because of and they were very successful at James Madison. We all agree with that, right? But there's not very many schools that you're seeing go hire coordinators from James Madison. But you do see them getting hired away from Big Ten schools all the time. And so if they have an enormous amount of success here and, you know, they have a defense rated in the top 20 and an offense rated in the top 15, to hang on to those coordinators, I mean, those guys probably have head coaching aspirations as well. And I don't think that Coach Cignetti's timeline of coaching is going to match up too well with theirs. Like, I hope he's here for 10 years plus. And I just don't see those guys with that amount of success hanging around for that long. I think that they don't all, I'm sure some of them aspire to be head coaches.
Yeah, that's what I've wondered, how in the hell he has been able to keep these guys together.
Because they're at James Madison. When's the last time you heard Mississippi hired an offensive coordinator from James Madison?
Yeah,
doesn't happen very often.
I cannot disagree with you, but the success factor as well. There's no way that they couldn't have. Curt Cignetti could have left had he wanted to.
Look, I'm going to throw out the Deion Sanders thing at you because it just drives me insane that people don't talk about it anymore. But all the hype that came with him when he went from all the success.
Oh, I've been talking about that this week, by the way.
And all the success that he had, and you know.
Well, the only success he had was bringing in players. Bringing in players.
I mean,
he hasn't had success on the field.
Jacksonville State.
Oh, Jacksonville State, yeah.
Like the amount of success that he had there, you know, didn't translate to big time. And right now you're in the same scenario. James Madison, Jacksonville State, not huge difference, little difference, not huge, but the step up. Right now it's translating, and if it continues to translate, then they're going to be the hottest thing on the market. Like, if they have a super successful season, like I am the guy who's on the other side of this, because if they win 10 games,
what was that?
If they win 10 games, you're not keeping them at Indiana. I don't think.
Oh, they're winning 10 games.
That's
just
my
winning
guess.
10 games.
If they win 10 games, there's going to be a gigantic checkbook out for somebody.
All right, I'll tell you what. We're gonna make a bet. I will. I'll put either up a round of golf or dinner someplace. I know how you love to cook, so I'll put a dinner on the line someplace.
11-1. I like it. I love our enthusiasm.
Dude, 11-1 is well within the realm of possibilities, and it's not as crazy as it sounds.
I wonder why you can't win betting.
I've got a ticket up there ready to cash, baby, big time. But you're right on the other ones. That makes some dumb ones there. But I think Indiana is just better than Nebraska because of their offense. It's not by a lot, but I think they're better. Their offense is just ungodly efficient. They score whenever they have the ball. I mean, their efficiency is off the freaking charts.
When they play Nebraska, will that be the best team that they've played so far?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think every game from here out is more difficult. Washington will be more difficult than Nebraska was. They're coming off a win over Michigan. Michigan State, because you're at Michigan State. That's still 80,000 people. I know it's a so-so team, but do you think it's harder to go play at Vanderbilt or at Michigan State? I'll still try my luck at Vanderbilt over going to Michigan State. Then you've got Michigan at home. Obviously another tougher game. Then you go to Ohio State. Then you got Purdue, which they suck, but it's a rivalry game, and we know what happens in rivalry games. So, yeah, I think every game is going to be slightly tougher than the one before that, but I think Indiana's going to continue to improve. But where they are miles ahead of people is their offense, and it is Curtis Rourke, number one quarterback in the Big Ten, number one in yardage, number one in touchdowns. He is leading this offense like he has been in it for 4 years. And that's another thing. To see this offense come together and perform pretty flawlessly is wild when you think about it.
Yeah, but you like, I asked you that question because I kind of knew what the answer was going to be, and I think you kind of proved my point for me. Like, there's no point in comparing this Nebraska game to the other games that we've played, because Nebraska is the best team that we're going to have played at that point. And then after that, Washington's going to be the best team that we've played at that point. Once we start clicking through these next few games, yes, I think we will all, if they continue winning those games, we will all just sit back and ride and enjoy it and know that it is absolutely for real. I'm just saying 6 games into it, I'm reserving my enthusiasm just a hair.
I am not. I've spent too many years having to tell the truth and a hard truth and nothing but the hard truth during the years of Archie Miller and all of that. I am so happy, I'll be honest with you, to be able to say, you know what?
I agree.
It's good. I'm getting to find all this positivity to talk about, which I'm not accustomed to, man. I'll be honest with you. But man, I hope you have a great weekend. Oregon, Ohio State this weekend.
That's a fun
at Oregon.
That's
who do you think? Who do you got in that game?
I mean, I haven't watched Oregon play at all. Well, I haven't watched Ohio State play at all either. You generally in college
neither has beat anyone of note.
Well, I guess generally in big time football, you go with the team with the better quarterback, and I think Oregon has the better quarterback.
Dylan Gabriel.
What do you think? What do you think Ohio State would do for IU's quarterback right now?
Guess where he transferred from?
Yeah, I know, Miami of Ohio.
No,
he's right down the road.
Ohio, the Bobcats.
Oh, he was? I thought he was
Ohio.
Was he? Ohio.
As was Miles Cross, one of his top receivers. Both of those guys came from right up the road from Ohio State at Ohio.
Yeah.
But they were busy recruiting those 5-stars.
Yeah, I got you.
Brother, I appreciate you. What's up next for you? How's myjumpshot.com going?
It's going. We're working. We're trying to fit time in to get everybody done.
Well, that's always a good problem to have. As you draw closer to the start of the basketball season, we are 1 week from Hoosier Hysteria. Will you be able to make it out there?
I probably will not. It generally always runs like right during a good football game, and it's generally not all that exciting.
It's on a Friday night.
If I had young kids going to something like that, yes, I definitely would. But it's worth it from that perspective. But from an actual basketball perspective, probably not.
It's a dog and pony show. I mean, it's a lot of lights.
It's an event. It's an event.
Yes,
it's not competitive. Yeah.
Exactly. Todd Leary, the Shot Father, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Make sure you keep up with, if you have a kid, know a kid, or a kid that needs help on that jump shot as you get ready for the season, go to myjumpshot.com. That's where you get it taken care of. Appreciate you, my friend.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
You betcha.